to join the game. And we're live, so let's hop into the first round Swiss 1 game. And right from the get-go, Lifecoach is going to be our top player, and Feelsgoodman. Man, that feels really bad as Venomancer gets absolutely sniped on the flop.
Yeah, and if we want to just go into some of Veno's passive ability, if you mouse over that there, Venomous Nature, that's going to summon a Plague Ward into Venomancer's lane each deployment phase. So since Veno is going to die, he's not going to be able to do that, but that Veno Plague Ward is going to be a 1/3 unit that does 2 piercing damage to any of its neighbors. Yeah,
hopefully throughout the game, Veno will survive, and we can actually see the Plague Ward in action. So you can see that I pulled up the ability to look at both players' deck. So anytime that you guys want to look at any card, just let me know, and I'll hover over them and give you guys the ability to see them.
Yeah, now that we're in our first game, I think it'd be good to zoom out too to show everyone the board. As you can see, 3 lanes, and these are the flop heroes that both our players have chosen.
So is this Janata right? Gonna proc. Here we go. This
50%.
Is
oh, there it is.
That's a proc, and that's going to be the easy track that's going to get casted. Plus 10 bounty. So, like I said, it's not uncommon for a bounty hunter deck to end with an absurd amount of gold at end turn 1. So when he gets the kill, Lifecoach will have 20 gold.
Look at that.
That's
gold
a lot of gold.
Yep, that's almost enough already to buy that Horn of the Alpha.
And this is the shopping phase now. We're currently seeing Feelsgoodman's perspective of the shop.
Yep.
But Lifecoach is also seeing his own version of the shop, and he's looking for buying those early items that he put into his deck, and then hopefully getting that Horn of Alpha out early.
Yeah, so at 20 gold, I think it's a very interesting decision whether you spend a majority of that money or you just spend very few of it and just save for that Horn.
Save for the Horn.
The Horn is the win condition of the deck. So we'll see what Lifecoach ends up doing.
Feelsgoodman is now in the hero deployment stage, and you can see Lifecoach is choosing to put his Magnus in the mid lane, and Feelsgoodman wants to put that Prelix in the first lane.
This is a very risky Prelix
Very
deployment.
risky Prelix.
50-50 into Mazzy with no answer. And there it is right into Mazzy.
Not
well,
like it.
I mean, you couldn't put it in the last lane either, right, for Feelsgoodman, because that would have been a 100% bounty kill as well. So it's a tough situation here for Feelsgoodman, and that's, I think, kind of what you were getting at, Swim, earlier. The heroes are just super weak.
Yes.
And if you fall behind like this, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, Prelix and Venomancer are ridiculously strong if they don't get killed, but they provide no value if they just die over and over again, and that looks like it's gearing up to kind of be the pace of this game.
Okay.
Lifecoach already has 26 gold, which is enough for him to buy a Horn of the Alpha if he sees it in his shop the next turn.
He has the other track here as well.
Oh, this is looking really bad here.
So it feels bad, man.
Yeah, it feels bad, man. All right, here comes the track. Now, with the Aghanim Sanctum, which basically will refresh your 4 mana here, you could technically cast 2 spells. You could go Tyler Estate, which now shrinks one of Lifecoach's mana, and then now refreshes to cast a different spell. Let's see if there's any good gank targets. Not particularly, right? So maybe you could cast a Slay. This is not looking like a powerful turn for Feelsgoodman.
No. Although it would be great to go into that improvement a little bit too. Where did that come from?
That came from the first lane when there was Prelix there. Prelix, a blue hero, so you cast blue improvements, but you don't have to cast in the same lane they're in. You could kind of play it downstream as a keyword, as we call it. So he played it downstream, and now he will gank. So
takes out the bounty in the last lane, but gank is a cross lane card. So Sorla's going to die anyways to the Magnus, so he figures he may as well take down a hero.
Yeah, it's really noteworthy. When you kill a hero before it has the opportunity to react, either with initiative or from an earlier lane, you lock him out of the mana. Like, Lifecoach cannot spend this 4 mana because he has no heroes there.
Yeah, well, he could spend his 43 gold. Let me tell you that. He's got money. And look at that.
He's already buying things.
Is he going to find a horn is the question.
There he is. Oh, it's already there.
It's there. It's there. And I wonder which lane he's going to actually throw it into. Ooh, I like this. You put the Darkset in the first lane, which allows you to surge the Mazzy to wherever you need it to go. So.
Yep, and Surge is Darkseer's active ability. If you see it on his card there, it's a 2-turn cooldown, so he's able to move that Mazzy to another lane, and then 2 turns later he can also move another unit.
I think an interesting play here for Lifecoach is to equip that Horn of the Alpha onto Mazzy, activate it here, get a big beast, and then you surge it to a different lane. And then you could cast that Horn of the Alpha active again later on as well. So we'll see what he ends up doing.
Our Feelsgoodman does have Slay in hand.
Okay.
So once that Horn of the Alpha comes out, and let's talk about what Horn of the Alpha does, because I don't think we've even
we'll
gone
keep
over
mentioning
that.
Horn of the
So
Alpha.
Horn of the Alpha.
Horn of the Alpha.
So Horn of the Alpha, great card, 4 health to a equipped hero, but it has an active where every 2 turns you can summon a Thunderhide pack, which is a 14/14 beefy beast.
Yeah, with Siege.
With Siege.
Yeah.
Siege basically only procs when there is a unit directly in front of the card or creep, and it does building damage regardless.
Yeah, so it's either going to hit you for 14
Or 6.
which is either case is like pretty bad for you. So it looks like we have a lot of item equipments kind of trading back and forth. And here comes that big horn.
There it is.
One of the sweetest animation, I have to say, when, when it gets activated. We'll see if he activates it here.
May as well.
And I think it's exactly as you said, Lumi. I think that Surge is going to be pushing Mazzy to the right lane. If not now, then at least a little bit later.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see since the Thunderhide pack was blocked, he does that 6 siege damage instead and takes out that Satyr.
Yeah. Right here, I think we could see some of the issues of having a 3-color deck. You can see that there's a lot of mana available to Feelsgoodman, right? Like, he has Sanctum available, but just not having the right color at the right lanes. And this is a downfall of the 3-color deck if you're just not having the right heroes at the right time.
And specifically the Black Splash as well. You mentioned Slay as a great counter to Thunderhide, and it is, but you only have 1 black hero, so you have only 1 lane to cast it on, which means that the Sorla will pretty much have to deploy left to counter the first Thunderhide, but Darkseer will just be able to move and play it on a different lane where it can't be answered.
A good kind of saving grace here right now for Feelsgoodman is that he's got an uncontested final lane with the Venomancer here. So we are going to see them Bananamancer wards.
Bananas will start coming each turn as long as Veno's alive.
Yeah. They're not actually called bananas, but we like to colloquially refer them to as bananas.
We see the Skyrath active being floated there and deciding to save it for a later turn. Pretty interesting decision.
Yeah.
So right now, who would you say is winning each lane?
Right now, Lifecoach is winning
all 3 lanes. I think he's winning all 3 lanes.
Well,
with the surge ability in mind, right?
Yeah, with the surge ability in mind, he will be flipping over to the right lane and winning that.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, Feelsgoodman has control over the right lane.
It's a very slow lane, though. Veno's a pretty low attack hero, and there's only creeps, which are coming in for that chip damage. So Lifecoach is not too worried about defending that.
Yeah. So as Flash mentioned earlier, the Venomancer venomous nature summons Plague Wards. So this Plague Ward is now added to the deployment phase.
And you can see the 2 random creeps that Lifecoach was mentioning earlier in our hot tips. Those are randomly deployed at the beginning of each round. So you can see they're going to the mid lane and the right lane in this case. And they randomly get put into those spaces there.
What has been the life expectancy of Feelsgoodman's hero? Because I feel like they just come out and they
1
just
turn.
Well,
Look at these
These
heroes.
are amazing spawns for Feelsgoodman, though, because the Slay is committed to the Thunderhide pack, which means Prelix will actually be surviving here.
Yes.
For now.
And he has initiative, which means he goes first. So Lifecoach won't be able to react even though he sees a black hero here, and he's able to see that Feelsgoodman has 2 slays.
Right. So it seems like a very kind of self-explanatory slay. You just do it, but he might be thinking, "Oh, can I actually squeeze in a Salamanian's favor here, and then slay afterwards?" We'll see.
Yeah, and if you're kind of looking at the damage numbers, right now Darkseer only has 5 attack against Sorlikon, but Sorla is taking the additional lethal damage from the Empower on Mazzy right now.
Right. So I know we talked about earlier surging the Mazzy. I think you actually surge
the Alpha.
Now, obviously, we could see Feelsgoodman's hand and be like, "Oh yeah, you surge him away."
There it is.
Even though Lifecoach doesn't know exactly what's in Feelsgoodman's hand, he understands that there's only 1 black hero on the other side. So Slay could only be casted in this lane. So putting him in a different lane makes him absolutely safe.
Yep. And of course, this Sorla is going to be disappearing from the board again, locking Feelsgoodman out of Slay for 2 more turns.
Oh, the tracks are coming down.
Yep.
I think Lifecoach is actually out of item on his item deck.
He's going to be looking in the secret shop now.
Yeah. You could track again.
That's true.
I won't be leaving the field anytime soon.
Man, Lifecoach just has a completely dominating presence in this game.
I mean, that's kind of what I said earlier about this deck, right? Either wins on turn 5, or it's going to win on like turn 10.
Yeah.
And this is the turn 5 draw. So, all right, double track. That's about 30 more gold coming in Lifecoach's way.
Yeah, and he's not going to have anything to do with it either. He'll have to see something expensive in the secret shop.
Yeah, maybe he'll find another Horn of the Alpha. Who knows?
We do have Prelix staying alive, at least, for now. She does have that ability to summon a melee creep into her lane at each deployment phase. So earlier when we saw those 2 creeps going to the mid and right, she's also going to bring an extra creep to the pool.
Yeah, the really cool thing I like about Feelsgoodman's deck is that if you get that early snowball going, you could really run away with the game. Because your Venomancer summon these Plague Wards, your Prelix summons more melee creep, and you just kind of overwhelm your opponent. But the way that the flop has occurred, a lot of these blue heroes just straight up died. So that's really unfortunate.
So that was an interesting card Feelsgoodman played there. Let's go over what lock is.
Yeah, so the last card play was Lost in Time, and you randomly lock 3 cards in your opponent's hand with +3 lock. So lock now means this card that's locked, as gray art symbolized, you can't actually play this card for 3 more turns. Yeah. So you could kind of think about, oh, we discarded 3 cards from their hand, but obviously eventually if the game goes long enough, Lifecoach will have access to these cards again.
That's right, and looks like that Surge brought the Thunderhide Alpha over here to the mid lane and put it right 50-50 in front of the Skywrath. It had a chance to go in front of that 1/1 Veno ward instead, but Thunderhide Alpha looking pretty hungry, thirsty for blood today.
Thunderhide takes no prisoner. He is he's just killing stuff.
Yeah.
So earlier we saw Iron Shell being casted on a creep. So you don't actually have to, like some cards says modify a unit would retaliate instead of modify a hero. So you don't get a permanent effect because once that creep dies, it's just gone forever.
Yep.
But in that case, it traded for, it actually was able to kill a creep. So a good use of Lifecoach's resources.
Yeah, and going over that keyword too, modify means it's permanent. So you can see that creep in the mid lane still has an Ion Shell.
Yeah, for example,
until he dies.
We saw a modification earlier on Mazzy. So this was modified with Empower, which gives it +3 attack and +3 cleave. And the importance of the keyword modify is that, let's say Mazzy dies, he goes to the fountain for 1 turn, and he'll come back with this ability still intact. So you're not kind of wasting your mana or card when you cast it on a hero.
That's
so
right.
The problem for Feelsgoodman here is that that Horn of the Alpha is up again, which means another 14-14 Dino is slamming the board. And if you look in the upper left corner, you can see that the 3 heroes Feelsgoodman has that died last turn are still in Fountain. Yeah. So he is 3 heroes short here. It's a 2v5.
Okay, well, at least Prelix survives yet another turn.
That's right.
And she could generate even more with Bringer of the Faithful.
Yeah, Feelsgoodman is putting a lot of creeps in this lane, and on top of that with Prelix bringing an extra one here. He's hoping that he can at least chip in some damage, but that Thunderhide Alpha is going to be doing 6 siege each turn, even though it's blocked.
Yeah. This game looks pretty bad for Feelsgoodman, but honestly not nearly as bad as... Okay, well, now with your blue hero dying, then it's a different story.
Yep.
Because I was going to say, yes, Feelsgoodman is losing this mid tower for sure, but he's also doing okay in the final lane. So there is a scenario where Feelsgoodman maybe could contest the first lane and eventually eke out a win, but now with Prelix dying, it's looking really rough.
Yeah, and Feelsgoodman's hand right now is just not looking great for in terms of the creeps or like the answers he has to other units. So right now, you see that Lifecoach has all his heroes alive, so he has nothing coming out for the next deployment. But in the Fountain, Feelsgoodman has 3 heroes coming back with those little check marks. That means he'll be able to choose which lanes those 3 heroes will go into.
Yep, it looks like Lifecoach will take a hero back. I also want to briefly talk about some of the arrows that we've been seeing. Now, units always attack straight and will hit the building, but you can see that this Thunderhide is now had an arrow angling to the right. As you're casting creeps and as the turn begins, these arrows get deployed into the lane and kind of directs where your units attack. So there's that a little bit of RNG element in the game, and I think after this deployment phase, we'll see what I mean with the arrows a bit more.
So you'll see here, Plague Ward going into the last lane because of Veno, and then the 2 random melee creeps.
Yep.
Feelsgoodman is choosing to defend that first lane with all he's got. So he puts all 3 heroes in that first lane. And Lifecoach also, since he TP'd his Magnus that previous turn, he gets to deploy it right away.
Yep.
So he brought it over from the mid lane and is now immediately able to put it in the first lane too to be another contender.
Yep, you've pretty much got to fight for this left lane right now if you're Feelsgoodman. I think this time you've learned your lesson. You're not going to be greedy with your Slay. You got to drop it. Turn 1 to kill the Thunderhide. Stop it from killing your Sorla and dealing siege damage to your tower.
Yep.
A pretty great draw here. Tower Barrage is going to be able to take down this tree, which deals 2 damage to each enemy. Also takes down this creep, and allows him to start having some resemblance of offense. Because I think right now Feelsgoodman is just looking to survive.
Yep.
But he needs to think about how he could win the game as well.
Currently, his tower is taking 17 damage from everything on the board.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's no limit to the number of units you can have on either side of the board. Currently, it's just right, but if there are more units, you can go left or right on that lane. But yeah, Feelsgoodman is thinking about what to do, and he's going to pass.
Whoa.
He passed.
Not sure about that. Did he run out of time, perhaps?
Oh, that could be it. He's just going to concede.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Feelsgoodman could have fought the good fight and survived maybe a turn or two more, but it really wasn't looking good in the long term. I also didn't see what he had in his deck. All right, Lifecoach, just feeling confident.
Taking his win in stride.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. But yeah, we'll be having our second game shortly.
Okay.
So at this point, we should be able to jump into the second game in just a minute here, because it's best out of 3. And I mean, it's really going to come down to, again, like the same exact iteration. Like, Lifecoach needs to be able to find that Horn of the Alpha. So if Feelsgoodman can kind of deny these early kills, especially on his blue heroes, which he also needs to keep alive, he's going to be in a good position. I would say like the one weakness with Feelsgoodman's deck, he's got these blue heroes and they need to stay alive, but he doesn't have anything that keeps them alive. You don't have like Cunning Plans or Compels or anything that disarms, battlefield control, stuff like that.
That's right.
And it just really hurts his game plan here.
You don't even have a way to really get money in order to buy those items that maybe can keep them alive for an extra turn.
We're in game 2.
Game 2. Let's go into it.
Guess what? The same situation happened. You just came in and Venomancer.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was the entire of round 1. And it looks like two of Feelsgoodman's heroes did. And there's 31 gold.
31 gold already from turn 1. You know,
the Lifecoach didn't find the
horn.
horn.
He did not find the horn. He did not find the horn. Okay.
Yeah, these 2 creeps both going into the mid lane. Again, it's like randomly deployed.
I was going to say he needs to get a little lucky. And, well, evidently, the luck was not here as all of his heroes just died.
Yeah, and Lifecoach currently has his turn deploy, which is Magnus, and he's thinking about where he wants to put that. So let's talk about a little about hero deployment.
Yes.
Right. So as you're looking at your lanes, you kind of want to have the optionality to be able to play cards in every lane, ideally, right? So here, you can also see the arrows. That I wanted to get into those quickly as well. So you can see those arrows that are getting deployed. Those randomly go into the spaces as well, and it's a 25% chance for either directional arrow, left or right.
Left or right is 25, and then going straight
is 50%.
So you can see, unfortunately for Enchantress, or maybe fortunately, she's going to be soaking up some of Mazzy's damage.
Yep.
I think you're pretty happy to see that. Tanking the tower damage with Enchantress that like just regens due to her own passive is something that you're pretty much fine with, unless of course a bounty hunter spawns into her next turn.
Yeah. Regeneration essentially heals you during the combat.
Yep.
So normally she should be taking 8 damage, but you can see that this kind of preview of the combat shows that she's only taking 6 because she has 2 regeneration, kind of soaking up that 2 damage, as it were.
Yep, and you can see any unit that is going to die is going to have that big X with the skull on it. Currently has it for Enchantress, signifying in the next turn, if Mazzy were to hit again in this direction, she would be dead.
Yeah, and despite losing 2 track kills overall in round 1, Feelsgoodman has a good 2-turn combo here. We've got the Soul Venom coming in here, and then next turn from left, he can actually cast Verdant Refuge from his Enchantress forward onto the mid lane on all these Plague Wards, which will be pretty good, giving them armor.
Yeah, I definitely believe that Feelsgoodman's deck is very powerful once it gets rolling. But unfortunately, all of these blue heroes that need to get things rolling are just straight up dying. Empower was cast to get +3 cleave. So what cleave does is that it allows you to kind of spread 3 damage to units left or right of Magnus. But Feelsgoodman was able to save it by casting the Traveler's Cloak.
Yep, and we're seeing in this last lane again, if you see Bounty's passive ability, that's going to be a 50% chance to give the +4 attack. His base attack is 7.
Right.
And so he's going to be hitting that tower now for a sizable 11 damage.
The convenience store creep. Right.
Yeah,
convenience store hero. So interesting choice here for Lifecoach, just to kind of trade here. Normally that's not a good trade, but I guess he wants to protect Bounty Hunter's health.
Yep, and we're looking at the shop now for Feelsgoodman. He doesn't have any gold. As you can see at the bottom right and the top right, that's the gold amount for each player.
Yeah. Lifecoach critically short 2 gold for that Horn of the Alpha, Magical 25. And the blue deck in general, very bad at making gold.
Yes.
So until it gets like 7 mana, then it could start casting some of the big AoE spells. But I think this game's already going a lot better for Feelsgoodman compared to the last game. I mean, we don't see a Horn right now.
I mean, that Horn is really what Lifecoach's deck is all about. He needs to make up that little bit of extra gold, and then he needs to buy items until he sees his Horn.
Right.
Ooh, Feelsgoodman is going to abandon the right lane. I got to say, I do kind of like this. He kind of needs to be able to give up something. Ooh.
Okay.
Swapping some heroes around, still thinking about the deploy.
Making sure.
Blue. This is the turn where Verdant Refuge and Barracks are going to be coming down on 5.
Yeah.
And these are going to really start giving him per turn value. He needs his heroes to stay alive, though.
Yep. Barracks is the signature card that comes with Prelix. If you mouse over that, that's an improvement, which can be played from any lane where there is a blue hero. And Skyrath is here, so you can play the Barracks into the mid lane or the last lane if you choose, or into this very lane. And essentially what that does is every deployment phase, there's going to be an extra melee creep coming into that lane.
Yeah. And you could technically protect this lane over the course of a couple of turns by just keep throwing barracks into that lane, and melee creeps will block for you. And then, of course, the other included card, this is Enchantress's included card, Verdant Refuge. And same thing with barracks. You could cast it here, or even the final lane. And it gives everybody 1 armor in that lane.
Yep.
Looks like we're going to start things off with a gank.
Ooh. Sacrificing Sorla to kill the Bounty Hunter on the same lane.
So trying to protect the Enchantress a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Generally, using gank and trading 1 for 1 is a pretty weak play because you're just looking to survive. You're not really getting ahead.
Yep.
But maybe the grand plan is to keep Enchantress alive, which keeps the other stuff alive, which,
There's no escaping me.
Right now, though, Skyrath is still going to be dying to that Mazzy with the 8 attack going through. Even with the Enchantress's passive with the regen, you can see that's why it's only doing 6 damage instead of 8 to Skyrath. And at any point, too, you can also mouse over any of these health attributes or these stats to see where the damage is coming from.
Yeah, it will show you like what's happening in this combat. So, for example, Enchantress is going to actually heal for 2 because she's taking no damage and she's got that +2 regeneration.
Home field advantage is going to be put down for Lifecoach, and if you can see, that's before the action phase, disarm a random enemy this round. So currently there's only Enchantress here, so reliably she would be disarmed.
Yes.
But if creeps do come into that lane, they could be disarmed as well.
Yep. Also, we saw that before the action phase, these little bananas will deal 2 damage randomly in one of the 3 spots in front of it. But of course, there was only a single spot that was occupied, so it shot this guy for 2.
Yep. And that's a common term used in Artifact as well for neighbors.
Yep.
Neighbors are simply the cards that are 3 directly in front of your card, essentially.
Yep. So, for example, these 2 units are Magnus's enemy neighbors.
Yep.
This one too, if it was something there. Okay, so it looks like it's a pretty easy lane here for Lifecoach. He's going to commit the Uglati Vandal, which has a play effect, which basically means as you play it, it deals an effect. So this guy shoots for 4 as soon as he comes down.
Yeah, and that lane is looking pretty lost for Feelsgoodman.
Found the horn.
Found the horn.
Big horn. We're going to see the 14-14. Also, what we're going to see is one of the best animations in the game before the action phase. So we'll drive full attention to that one.
For the home field advantage.
Home field advantage.
And again, these arrows are coming out, so they randomly get placed into any of those slots.
Yep.
You can see that if there is no target for the arrow, it just defaults to straight. But in this case, you can see that Enchantress and Mazzy are having a battle in the first lane.
So here's home field disarming a randomly chosen unit,
and it's
and
Enchantress.
it disarms Enchantress.
And it just takes your sword and just runs away with it.
Yep.
And now she's disarmed.
Disarmed means you can't attack.
Yeah.
You can still cast spells. You can see that the spells that you're able to cast in this lane are highlighted.
Yeah, so
you
Verdant
can
Refuge.
still cast that,
Yeah.
but not able to do any damage to that Mazzy.
I'm predicting a very angry beast that's going to land in front of this Enchantress.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty nasty.
Yep. And the way that the item works as well, right, is if there's an empty space, it's
Yes.
going to fill that empty space.
Yeah.
So it's reliably going to land in front of Enchantress right now.
For creeps as well. For example, Horn of the Alpha, let's say if Lifecoach, he can't really summon it into an empty position like this one.
Yep.
Because you have to fill in an empty gap first before you can expand the board.
That's right.
All right.
So putting a short sword on, but again, Enchantress is not doing damage, so that's not going to have much effect.
Oof. Big beast coming down.
Yep. To rub it in, that 6 siege damage is going to start piling on.
Yeah, and again, same as last game, Lifecoach is going off in the left lane where he also has Darkseer Surge, so he has the flexibility. Sorla's going to come down again at, like, you know, to try to slay. Of course, Feelsgoodman could top deck the slay to be able to kind of play it on the horn, but Lifecoach has the response with just surging his dino away again.
Yep. So here we see the signature card of... Well, we're not going to see that this turn.
Barracks coming into the first lane. There's currently 2 barracks. That means there's going to be 2 extra melee creeps coming in at the deployment phase. We'll point those out later too.
Yep. This lane is looking pretty decent. The board's getting really wide, but Lifecoach does have one of the best answers in his deck, which is the cleave from Magnus. You can see that even though there's nothing hitting this melee creep, the cleave is allowing it to clear out some of the clutter, as it were.
Yep. Cleave requires you to have a direct target in order to proc.
Yep.
So since Magnus was hitting one of those creeps there, he was also able to activate his cleave that he got from Empower, which was the 3 extra damage that he did to the neighboring units.
All right.
So as you can see, that lane, 3 extra creeps there because of the, or sorry, 2 extra for the barracks, but one of the 2 random creeps got deployed there as well. And Feelsgoodman is just really looking to defend that first tower since that last lane is already popped. Now Lifecoach only needs to take 1 more tower of these 2 in order to win.
Yeah, Barracks is actually a pretty powerful card if the game goes long enough, because you're essentially generating infinite value eventually, right? These are giving you free creeps, but
yeah,
I don't think the game's going to go that long.
Ooh, and there is the Slay top deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the same exact situation happening, because we have initiative here on Lifecoach's end. He can play outside of Slay by surging the dino away, just like he did last game.
Yeah, surging it to the mid lane seems like a very reasonable choice, but maybe he's thinking about casting some of the other cards that are perhaps more important. We'll see.
Yep, and that home field advantage happened to take out that, or disarm that 1 creep that was hitting the tower.
Yeah, home field advantage very bad against when you have a really wide army, because you know creeps essentially will take that disarm more often than the hero taking the disarm.
That's right, and still that 6 damage is coming through from the Thunderhide Alpha right now.
So Lifecoach opting to draw a card first, and as you guys were kind of watching, each player alternate in between action. So now Lifecoach casts the Potion of Knowledge, where lets him draw a card, and now the ability to slay is going to come right down. And all of a sudden, the blocker blocking Sorla Khan is gone, and she is going to be able to hit the tower. Her passive ability is Warmonger, which when she's hitting the tower, she does 4 more. So by herself, she's hitting for 12, which is pretty impressive.
Yep, you always want to ideally get Sorla in front of a tower.
Yep.
That's where she shines, and her signature ability as well that comes with her is Assault Ladders. So we see that allies deal 2 extra damage when attacking a tower. So Lifecoach is just going to go ahead and deny that, puts a creep in front of it. And this is what we were saying about chumping, right?
Yeah.
So now we have Sorla doing no damage and just killing a measly creep.
Well, Feelsgoodman says, look, you could block, but I'm going to make more dudes. And so more dudes coming down. The other option that he could have went for, or he or she could have went for, is Tower Barrage, which would have removed this creep and still continue hitting for more. But expanding your board is always a pretty decent choice.
Yep, and unfortunately, Feelsgoodman has no more mana. You can see that on this turn, he started with 7 mana, but he's already used it all. So unfortunately, not able to take out any more creeps to free up Sorla to hit the tower.
Ooh, Assassin's Apprentice using its active ability, which allows it to curve its combat arrow into whatever it wants, targeting the Prelix, which will, of course, stop Prelix's passive from spawning a melee creep next turn.
Yeah, and we're going to see that in action one more time here. A Sister to Veil also will change her arrow. Now, creeps normally cannot do this on their own, but these 2 creeps have the ability to, well, you know, active ability to change the arrows here.
Like true assassins.
True assassins indeed, and well, look at these 2 blue heroes. Going back to a very familiar territory, the Fountain.
Yeah, at this point, Feelsgoodman is just having a lot of heroes die.
Yep.
And with only Enchantress coming out in the next turn, it's going to look pretty tough for him to defend this first lane where another alpha is coming down in the next turn.
So just to kind of put things in context, you could normally cast this alpha for 8 mana. This just gets you for free, like every other turn.
Well, that's 25 gold,
well,
and then for free.
Free, yeah. But, you know, you don't have to draft and put this card in your deck and all that stuff. So, Heart of the Alpha is one of the real deal, as it were, for this game.
Yep. And currently, Venno is going to be dying to that cleave. As you can see, Magnus is hitting that Venno ward in front of him. But he has 3 cleave, and Venno currently has just 1 armor point. And that's the middle stat, which I'm not sure, like, you know, maybe we should cover that as well.
Yeah, sure.
The stats on all of these cards, right? As you can see, the left one is the attack. That middle one is armor. And so armor mitigates any incoming damage unless it's piercing.
Yeah, so if you have 1 armor, then it blocks 1 damage.
Yep. And this lane is just, you know, where Lifecoach can just keep going, keep hitting that tower. As you can see, it's the exposed Ancient, so it started at 80 health. And if he chooses, he could win in that lane as well.
Yeah, the idea of the Ancient is it kind of gives Lifecoach inevitability, right? Like, even if Feelsgoodman can indefinitely stall mid and left, he will have to eventually win one of the lanes because that Bounty Hunter on Lifecoach's right lane is just plinking away at that Ancient every turn.
Yeah, it will take a couple more turns before Bounty Hunter will eventually seal the deal.
Yes.
I think Lifecoach is still looking to win in the first couple of lanes here, especially the Horn of the Alpha active is now back. And are there going to be any slays drawn here for Feelsgoodman? Because he needs slays to essentially stay alive.
Yep.
They won't escape me.
So the home field advantage is just disarming that creep there. And what do we have in Feelsgoodman's hand?
Well, he can cast a
Can
Thunder
cast
Hide.
his own.
Yeah. And it will go face.
Yes.
Because there's no...
I think he needs to start going face
Okay.
to have any chance of taking down a second tower, or sorry, his first tower. That second tower is at 20 health, but he's got a pretty wide lane there. But yeah, he's got 8 mana. He could play the Thunder Hide.
So at this point, for Feelsgoodman to be able to win the game, he needs to be able to take both left and mid tower, since he's not really even playing for right. So he's got to deal, 25 more damage. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so Tyler Estate Sensor comes down, and now that's active is, well, you have 1 less mana. So now we're locked out of playing Thunder Hide, which there's still some very good play in the hand of Feelsgoodman. For example, he could play the Assault Ladder from this lane onto the middle lane and suddenly start pressuring the tower a little bit at least.
Yep. Assault
Obviously,
ladders.
you could also just kind of develop more creeps here as well. Okay,
It's gonna go. Divine Intervention saves all of these creeps here. This makes them immune to damage, so you can see that they're all going to be staying alive.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this Divine Intervention. It really helps him put out a much bigger threat in the next lane. But Lifecoach only needs to deal 15 additional damage to this left tower to be able to win the game.
It's important to take
On top of that, everything has now got that modification of +3 health with the Rumusk Blessing. So now they're very tanky creeps and heroes, which is going to be very hard for Feelsgoodman to kill.
Lifecoach thinking about his play. He still has the Darkseer active up, which is what he used last time to move the dinosaur to a different lane. He's keeping enough cooldown for now, but he might be using this. He's considering it at this point, which of these heroes he might want to move to a different lane.
It's such a nice feeling if you're in Lifecoach where you know that your opponent is completely out of mana, and then your opponent also doesn't have any heroes down the lane, so you're just free to do whatever the heck you want to do for the rest of the turn.
Yeah. Lifecoach only needs to take this left tower from Feelsgoodman, and Feelsgoodman still needs to take both left and mid from Lifecoach.
Right.
Let's collect
And like you said, the inevitability from Bounty Hunter is...
It puts the game on a timer.
Yeah.
Yep. Last, the Ancient on the right is now at 46 health.
Helm of the Dominator,
That's
very good answer if you have 19 gold, but he's got 3, so...
Yeah. Helm of the Dominator would let him just take that Thunderhide Alpha from Lifecoach and have it on his side.
That being said, the triple deployment is pretty strong. Feelsgoodman is going to have to win mid lane, I think, this turn. Deploying 2 heroes left might be a bit of an overcommitment, because even if he can maybe kill the left tower at the same time, if he, if Lifecoach wins on the left side on that second turn, it will represent a tie.
Yep.
Yeah, draws
Still
are
has-
possible in this game.
Just thinking about putting Veno mid.
Okay. I do believe that Feelsgoodman can take the middle tower if he commits an Assault Ladder.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. And that's what he's going to need to do. He definitely wants to take that this turn. You got the tower healths. I mean, Feelsgoodman is down to 15, and that -6, you can see that Dino is just doing 6 every turn. It's unanswered.
And this is actually the only lane that he can play that Assault Ladders from. Again, with that, the choice of having the 1 splash and a black hero, pretty much you have no other chance to cast the Assault Ladders.
I think that one thing we might see develop this turn is Lifecoach waiting for Feelsgoodman to run out of mana.
And then the grazing
And
shot.
the grazing shot, which
Yeah.
deals 2 damage, which clearly kind of removes this blocker, and you could get in for 14. But that's kind of
Still not lethal.
Yeah.
Not lethal, but
As
But,
Louis mentioned, it's important to wait until Feelsgoodman runs out of mana, because if you do the grazing shot first, then Feelsgoodman can then play either So Venom or Dimensional Portal right after that and like block that one slot on the board.
right. So right now 4 mana left here, and if your Feelsgoodman, you're behind, so you need to keep casting
Exactly.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
And
now out of mana completely. Are we going to see that grazing shot to open up for 14 damage?
We're going to start with the Potion of Knowledge. Lifecoach knows there's no pressure for him to play anything, and if he draws a second thing that gives him lethal potential,
Okay.
he might have it.
Cut down the Book of the Dead here.
Only one creep had died, and Book of the Dead is an item that he equipped onto Bounty Hunter.
Sometimes the shepherd
Yes.
must fend off the wolves.
Any more plays here from Lifecoach? He essentially could play as many cards as he wants here if he has a mana for it, because now his opponent really don't have any ability to act anymore.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Draw a
There's the Potion of
card.
Knowledge.
Another Serum
No
Reinforcement.
lethal on that.
That's really good for the middle lane as well.
If you're in this position on Lifecoach, you're basically just playing very carefully. You want to play around your lose condition when you're kind of this
far
dominantly
ahead, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Lifecoach may just not really bother taking the grazing shot. He could do it if he wants to push 8 additional damage. But
know-
he might go for the Divine Intervention.
Yeah, I
instead.
like that a lot more as well. Kind of just protect your board. There's a lot of things on his side that's dying. Like, for example, Darkseer's dying, this creep is dying, these 2 things are dying, and Divine Intervention will protect all of that. But no, he's going to go for the much more aggressive play. 14 to the face, leaving Feelsgoodman at 1.
Immediately.
Putting steel and reinforcements here, because he does know that Feelsgoodman has to win 2 lanes, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
that mid lane is probably his potentially strongest right now, and
Ooh.
Feelsgoodman is going to go ahead and concede.
Yeah, he sees where he's at in that game,
Yeah.
just like last one.
Yeah. So turns out the deck is really good when you get Horn out on turn
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
every game.
And it just so happened that Feelsgoodman had like the deck that probably does arguably the worst against something that Lifecoach has, where
Yeah.
you have all these squishy heroes, and from the flop already, if Lifecoach is able to get that payday or even just the track going, he's going to have so much gold and he's going to be able to get